I realized there's so many unknowns in new development, it's not tangible. So I went in with the thought process of how can I protect my buyer's investment when they purchase? In my opinion, it's not really my job is not to tell the clients what they like, it's to show them the market. And then it's to tell them how to protect on their financial aspect of the asset, right? Like so you can look at all the different projects and you can say, oh, I love it. But how do you know that that project is something that's going to be a good investment in the future?
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Omar De Windt, Communications Executive here at Severa Real Estate. Today, we're talking to someone with over $350 million in career sales who recently joined the Severa family and is going to talk to us today about actionable advice that our listeners could apply to their business to succeed in today's marketplace. Joining me here, actually, I'm at your new home here at 1428 Brickell, but that's Elliott Lee. Elliot, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And so today we're doing it a little bit different. We're offsite at the sales gallery, or I should say at Nolan House, which is the sales gallery for the residences at 1428 Brickell, an amazing project of which you are the new assistant sales director at. So congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
I love this space. Always nice to be here. And so we're going to do it a little bit different today, but what's staying the same is that we're going to share actionable insights and tips for today's real estate professionals, both those in the Miami market and just really realtors all over the world, right? So how can you sort of apply the tactics and habits of others to their business? So we're going to get into that, Elliot. Before we do, if you could give us the quick 60-second elevator pitch on who you are and sort of how you built the career that you built.
Sure. Perfect. So I've been in the business for 15 years. My name is Elliott Lee. I am the founder for Lena and Elliot Group, which is our general real estate team. And I'm also the assistant sales director for 1428 Brickell, which is one of the most premier and I would say one of the most prestigious projects in my definition in terms of quality and construction and who the developer is. In the last 15 years, I've actually ventured into the niche of new development, which is the niche that I'm very passionate about. I've learned in my 15 years that there's so many things that as buyers and also as developers, they may not know about the market, right? So we're here to guide and advise and give them valuable feedback so that they could take their project to market and help them effectively sell their units.
Love that. So let's, before we get into sort of the meat of it, I want to start our journey at the beginning. So tell me, how did you get into real estate in the first place?
So it was sort of an accident. I got into real estate. I was actually in California. I went to an open house with my mother and we were at open houses for probably like 4 or 5 hours. And she asked me if I was bored. I said no. And she said, well, why don't you think about this as a career path? So I sort of just jumped in. I got my real estate license here in Miami when I was, I think, 20 years old. And then I just jumped in doing rentals in the beginning for university students. And then slowly, bit by bit, you build your career up. So,
of course, I like that. Always start with the rentals. I think that's a good way to dip your feet into the waters. And so tell me more about the early years. So was there anything that was harder than you expected?
It was all harder than I expected. But I enjoyed every single minute of it because I actually enjoyed real estate. Like it's a very weird thing to say. A lot of people, I think, get into the business for the wrong reasons. I actually enjoyed each challenge that I overcame, which was understanding how to just put together showing appointments, right? To getting your first your first client, to then taking them out, to then getting them to write an offer. Each of those steps was kind of like a little win for me.
Sure.
So it was kind of the thrill of like finishing one by one. And as you kind of grow, you start learning, well, there are these ways that you can do it, those ways that you could do it. So it was kind of just like conquering each step.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every successful sort of transaction gives you a bit of more confidence, but also the learning, right, of how to do it well, how to do it, or mistakes to learn from type of.
Yeah. 100%.
So at what point did it click for you? Because I feel like in any craft, at some point, first there's a learning curve, and then one day you're like, man, I'm actually, I think I'm pretty good at this, right? So like, at what point did it click for you?
It really clicked for me this one time. I was working with a buyer, and we went out to look at apartments, to look at homes, and I realized that just automatically, I was talking a lot about valuable insights for the buyers, and I saw the look on their face that like almost as if they really appreciated what I had to say, my advice. And I remember, leaving that day, sitting in my car, feeling a little stunned that I didn't even realize I knew so much, you know? So it kinda it does really just build all of the years that you've been in the business. It will kinda creep up on you, and one day you will surprise yourself, and that was really the aha moment for me. And, there were multiple bridges. So that was one of the first bridge. The second bridge was when I started crossing into new development. And I realized at that time that buyers, they don't know a lot about new development, right? So if they're looking at floor plans, how do they know that the dimensions are proportionate to what they're going to expect in real life? Or how, if they look at the renderings for the project, how do they know in real life it's what they're going to get? And I realized there's so many unknowns in new development; it's not tangible. So I went in with the thought process of how can I protect my buyer's investment when they purchase. In my opinion, it's not really my job is not to tell the clients what they like. It's to show them the market, and then it's to tell them how to protect on their financial aspect of the asset, right? Like so they can you can look at all the different projects and you can say, "Oh, I love it." But how do you know that that project is something that's going to be a good investment in the future? A lot of the times it's easy to buy into something, but it's in the future when you're looking to sell it, that's when the problems kind of arise. Yeah.
Sure, I love that. So one part is the emotional, you're buying into the renders and the beautiful idea of it, and then there's how do I protect the purchase. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you do that with potential buyers looking at new construction? Like what are the ways beyond the beautiful renders that you sort of guide them to making that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm glad you asked me that question. It's such an important topic. One of the first step that I tell buyers is to really understand who the developer is. Understand what that developer is in the game for. Is he a volume-based developer? Is he a developer that, you know, builds just a ton of buildings all the time? Big doesn't always mean better. It does mean that you can get through the city quicker, but it doesn't mean that you always have the best quality on the market. And a lot of the times there's developers that have a big name, but end up having products that buyers, individual buyers, can actually lose money on. You know, as a buyer, you have to think about the fact that for a developer, the developer's building one asset that he wants to sell for a profit. Once he finishes that project, he's on to the next one. Whereas the buyer is the one that's left with the home, and he's going to remain in the home maybe for, let's say, the next 5 to 7 years before they think about upgrading, downsizing, or changing their overall environment. So it all starts with the developer, who the developer is, and you want to go to the type of materials that they use. You want to see how unique that development is compared to the entire marketplace. And that's where us as real estate advisors, we bring a lot of value because, like, for example, here in Brickell, as you know, two bedrooms are generally somewhere between 12 to 1300 square feet.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at a product that is within that 12 to 1300 square feet, it uses almost the same materials, the bare minimum stainless steel appliances, you have quartz or maybe beginner grade marble countertops. The product doesn't stand out from the market. So in a very simple way to explain it to you, it's really all about supply and demand. And you want to find projects that have very unique features. For example, here at 1428, every single one of our residents has two private elevators. It has been stress tested by our developer because he really cares about the overall buyer experience. So the homeowner's experience. So he did a stress test himself, and that between 195 residences, the longest you're ever going to have to wait for an elevator is 53 seconds. That's been stress tested. Each unit has two private elevators and also a service elevator. To kind of cross that back to the topic that we're talking about, these are unique features that different developers have or don't have, right? Do they have higher ceilings? Do they have better laid out floor plans? Are their floor plans flow through, or are they not? Do they have split floor plan designs? Are they more unique relative to the local marketplace, as in the city of Miami, the city of Brickell, and also the county, Miami-Dade County? So all of those factors play into the overall financial well-being of the asset of this particular purchaser.
That's excellent insight. And so I suppose for our listeners in real estate, they're either engaging with new development product either as an outside agent, right? We say as a general real estate agent, or co-broker, or as an in-house in development sales, such as yourself and the team here at 1428. What advice do you have in addition to, kind of you laid it out there as to what you were looking for when you were learning new development, but what should general real estate associates be looking for in the product in addition to what you mentioned as they're maybe vetting potential inventory or products to present to their buyers right before they walk into a sales gallery?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of noise in the market, right? So you can have all the flash, the dash, the brands, how large the building is. All of those things are very easily translated to the buyer in the sense that the buyers can very easily be sold on. But do those buildings have proper longevity to the home buyer? Is that project in the next 4 or 5 years, are you going to have problems with your faucets, your plumbing, your mechanicals, your HVACs? These are all things that matter when it comes down to the building being built. So for us, I would recommend to all of our viewers not to concentrate so much on the noise out there, but to look at what true luxury really is for the buyer, meaning that it's not just about the brands or how big the buildings are. It's about how sophisticated and how much care is put into each and every part of that building. And as we mature in the Miami market space, it's more and more important that buyers concentrate on this because we have a lot of um, cutting corners in Miami. And as you get more and more seasoned in the real estate space, and you're going out, bringing your buyers to look at buildings, you'll realize it yourself. You go into a building, you'll look around and you'll realize it wasn't as nice as what I thought. So a lot of developers are known for building from the outside in, meaning the architecture is very beautiful, but when you go in, it's a very non-functional floor plan versus developers that build from the inside out, where they start with the customer experience and they start with even just as something as small as arriving to the building, to getting into your unit, to how functional the unit is, to how much wear and tear each material has. All of those things play a major factor into the future of the financial health of the product.
What about on the flip side, if you're working as an in-house agent and you're engaging with both, uh, you know, potential buyers and their brokers, what are some of the keys to success in that role?
Well, we would say to work with, obviously, for a lot of real estate agents, commissions is a big deal. Um, and you want to pick a product that you make sure you're going to be able to get your commission, right? So, again, for us at 1428, we already have a construction loan secured by JP Morgan, which means that our commissions are able to be paid out much quicker, much more aggressively for all of our co-brokers. I think that's helpful. But also knowing the fact that we did get our construction loan gives a sense of um, safety that the building is actually going to be completed. That's really important nowadays, as we know, since the '08, since the financial crisis,
Yeah.
the subprime mortgage crisis, lenders have become a lot more difficult in terms of qualifications for individual homeowners. That also waterfalls to the developer. So it's more difficult for developers now to also get loans. It's not just about the company anymore. They have to look at every financial document behind the developer to know that this developer will be able to complete the transaction.
Let's keep this conversation going with regards to, keys to success, right? So I mentioned at the top, you grew your or over the course of your career as you kept getting better and better, right? And it all clicked. over 350 million in career sales. Let's talk about what drove that and sort of breaking it down into like lead generation, conversion, and client relationships, right? Like creating repeat business. So first and foremost, with lead generation, are there one or two keys that you would say in that regard that's really fueled your business, like on how you unlock the lead generation?
So lead generation has always been a very different type of a topic for me. I've never been in the business doing anything traditional. So um, maybe a lot of people, well, maybe Alicia Sabera might not like me a lot for saying this, but I don't do cold calling a
Sure.
lot. I've done door knocking before, and
Hmm.
I ultimately chose not to do it. Number one, because I didn't like it. Number two, I don't think it's scalable. So anything that and I started thinking about this. Even if I became a master at door knocking, each day I can knock, let's say, 100 doors. Let's say I'm able to get 10 leads out of like a 10% lead, right? So 10% of them um, end up listing with me. At the end of the day, that's my maximum output because individually, there's no way you can do more. So I started thinking this is not a very scalable way to do the business. And so when it came to lead generation, I learned that you have to really get yourself out there. So s- don't be afraid to spend money on marketing, you know, and also make sure you work on social media because social media has provided me with a lot of leads, referrals, repeat business. So any way that you can to get yourself out there and sort of multiply yourself is the best way for you to stay on top of mind.
Let me double click on the social media aspect of it because I think there's a lot of camps. On one regard, I think you see social media, there's a lot of noise out there as well. A lot of realtors and, videos, and it's like, look at my listing, or maybe it's not my listing, but I'm here touring it. There's on the other hand, you may see realtors giving out valuable content and shorts explaining tips and things like that. What's your approach to social, or what sort of specific ways on social have you been able to generate leads? And a third element to that is that were they your known relationships on social that sort of you came up more top of mind because you posted something, or were these unknowns that became, it's like business and leads that came in through social media?
Yeah, it's for me, it's been a combination of both.
Sure.
I've never been the person that's had a social media that's like just generating a ton of buyer and seller leads. It's more so the content that I've put out is more value-based content that resonates with people that stay top of mind. So I've gotten many referrals from people who followed me on social media. I've closed houses from people on my social media. I've listed properties with people on social media, and I also had new development buyers from social media. And a lot of it is because that, you got to think about it this way. If if you send out an email newsletter, right, you're invading other people's inbox, and you're hoping people would open it, right? For the lack of a better word. But when you have social media, which is free, by the way, right? You put out a video, most people that are on social media, they're looking for it. So as opposed to you invading somebody's mailbox and they didn't want to see you there, these are people that are actively on their phones looking for content. So the retention rate is a lot higher when you're in social media. And I think it's something that people should keep in their mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of value to it. And going back to video, I know I had an associate the other day tell me that they had a broker call them to work with them because they saw their video and thought that this person seemed like a nice, personable,
Right.
person to work with.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great way to humanize sort of the professional behind the
Yeah,
business.
100%. Yeah, and that's a great point. Newsletters is a static image, maybe a short video, but social media, not only do you see what people say, how they are, the value that they give, you also see their consistency.
Right.
So you can look at their social media, look at their stories, and you can tell how active they are in the field. Nowadays, it's almost an essential thing to have social media. Um, so I definitely would agree with you on that.
So I love this for lead generation. Let's go into the second pillar, which is conversion. What are some of the ways? Well, how has conversion worked for you? What are some of the keys to success? And is there maybe something that agents maybe get wrong when it comes to, somebody tells you, hey, I might want to buy or I may want to sell, but then somehow you don't get them to the finish line. Like, talk to me a little bit about converting
Yeah,
tactics.
I think there's a lot of different ways there is to be done. I don't believe that there's one congruent way to get leads. There's many different agents that have amazing social medias, even better than mine.
Mm.
And some of them just show properties, right? They show it in a very dynamic way. I choose to give more educational value-based content. That's just my style, what I'm comfortable with. And but I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all strategy. I think anything works. Just get yourself out there and just
Yeah.
execute.
Well, and to be clear, I want to shift to like the act of converting somebody who's potentially interested, whether they came from social, whether they replied to your email newsletter, maybe they saw your postcard in the mail and they called you. Or maybe they walked into your sales gallery, right? But what are some of the advice, if you have any, for realtors on what are some of the best ways to sort of establish rapport, hear the client needs, and like get them to the finish line in this
Right.
marketplace?
Yeah. What you're saying specifically to social media.
No, I just mean
Well,
like,
any
so yeah, like I wanted to break down, like, again, going back to the top. So, um, we talked about 350 million in career sales, right? And because I like to like break things into three. So assuming that, that revenue, or that production was facilitated by one, lead generation, two, the ability to convert said leads into closed sales, and then three, maybe establishing loyalty, how you sort of cultivate your clients over time.
Yeah.
So on the conversion front, I'm wondering if maybe you see, let me tell it to you a different way. Like sometimes you get an agent gets a lead or somebody tells them they're interested, but then that agent's super pushy and they're following up with that person, or trying to pressure them into a sale. And then it sort of puts off said prospect.
Yeah.
And so it's a failed conversion, so to speak. So
Right.
have you seen any specific things that have worked well for you in terms of converting potential business, or maybe things that people should avoid?
Yes, absolutely. So for me, it's always been, again, going back to giving value.
Okay.
The more value that I give to buyers in ways that can protect their purchases, the better. The more value I can give to a seller on how to position their property or sell their property, the better. So for me, it's really just about having conversations, but also understanding who is the person sitting across the table from me, right? Essentially, are they somebody that is ready to move forward? Are they somebody who's sort of not ready to move forward? It's really a lot about consulting, having a consultation with whoever the client is,
Sure.
understanding who their wants and needs are. And as strange as it sounds, it's more active listening, because a lot of the times they're going to tell you their wants and needs just from you being a good listener, So I think that's a key component.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of tease it here, but in terms of client relationships and fostering loyalty, repeat business, is there something that has worked well for you over the course of your career? Like, how do you stay in touch with your clients and turn that lead into loyalty?
So a lot of it is, and I consider this sort of the fun part of the business. It's, you get to meet so many interesting people who have done so much in their lives in ways that are so different from your path, right? So for me, that part is actually the part that I enjoy the most. Um, Going out to dinners, man, going out, inviting them to an activity. People love to have fun, and those are the best ways to stay top of mind. And a lot of the times that's when you generate a lot of referrals through that.
Right. Of course. Yeah. It's, it's just a sort of um, being in touch and,
Yeah,
and sort of in touch, with the friends, family, and your network,
yeah.
because it's not so much it's a transaction, it's a relationship.
It's a
Over time.
relationship. Yeah, it's a relationship game.
So let's anything else that I might have missed with regards to keys to success there over the years?
Well, I want to give a golden nugget that
Uh-huh.
has really helped my career.
Okay.
In the beginning, when well, two gold nuggets,
Yeah.
right? One of them is I always watch top producers, and I've always wondered, what is it that they do differently than the others? So observe those people that you want to become,
Yeah.
and learn from that, right? The second thing is 0% interest credit cards.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this thing saved my life, right? Like, I remember I really wanted to do marketing, and I found a really great marketing company, but I wasn't able to afford it. So a lot of us that are in the field that are just starting to do better, we don't really know how to get things done, because it's sometimes marketing is expensive,
Yeah.
right? and you have to kind of take a risk. Um, every business has a risk, but one way that you minimize that risk is to get 0% interest credit cards. These 0% interest credit cards, usually you don't have to pay back for 12 to 14 months,
Yep.
which gives you 12 to 14 months of runway for you to figure out if you can pay something back, if you can pay that back. Now, if it's money given to you at 0% interest and you know that you could do one deal and make $30,000 and pay that entire credit card off, it's sort of a no-brainer. It's free
Right.
money. So utilize those 0% credit
I
cards.
like that.
I'm telling you, man.
Some good. What was the first nugget?
The first one is
Watch what top producers. Right.
yeah, watch other top producers.
Right. Watch and learn and 0% interest credit cards. I like that. Let's I have a couple other rapid fires for you. What would you tell a new agent in their first 12 months?
Embrace technology.
What would you tell a stuck agent trying to break through?
Embrace technology.
What's one mistake you see agent making in Miami right now?
They
Not embracing in technology?
they focus too much on the things that doesn't move the needle, if that makes sense.
Okay, tell me more.
Like if today you only had, if today I shortened the time and said that you only have an hour each day, right? And the rest of the time you cannot do anything to produce in your business. That 1 hour, what would you do? That would actually move the needle in your business.
Call your clients that are going to.
It could be.
Yeah.
That could be one of the ways, right? What is the one or two things that you, and a lot of agents think of themselves that they're spread way too thin. They want to do so many different things at once. And I think you can use it strategically, right? If you know that making calls is what's going to move the needle, then make those calls. But we're all human, and not every single day you're going to have that motivation to make all the calls. So if let's say you're on a Wednesday or a Thursday, almost the end of the week, and you don't want to make the calls, well, then work on your other business, work on the other facets of your business, marketing, social media, whatever it is, but like, I think we as people in the age of technology and social media, we get distracted so easily. It's important for us to know how to put the phone down, so to speak, and just understand what are the things that we need to do to actually move the needle in the business,
Right.
and then look at things that way, and then everything else will kind of follow.
Love that. What's one thing agents should stop doing immediately?
Doom scrolling. I'm also a victim of that. So I can't
But
I have to be honest here.
I think, yeah, I hear you. I think, having habits is, and like a routine, I
A
think
routine.
can help with, maybe avoiding doom scrolling. I've found myself in the morning, like, not allowing myself to open up Instagram or anything like that until I do like 3 or 4 other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes that's much harder done than said.
Yeah.
Much harder said than done.
Yeah, exactly. I hear what you're saying. By the way, you said embrace technology, and I'll leave it, leave it. What you mentioned embrace technology. I didn't double click on this, as I like to say, but what's one technology that's really like moving your needle or change your game right now?
Um, I would say social media.
Okay.
It hasn't, it was but social media was a longer term investment. It's not something, it takes time,
Mm.
right? Um, so when I say embrace technology, is not just social media. It's embracing all of the different resources that we have that are free and use them to your advantage. And a lot of the times, I think people forget that, if we wind back the clocks to like the 1980s and 1990s, how do you advertise? How do you get your name out there? You'd have to get a classified ad in the newspaper, which you would have to spend money on. And if you took somebody who's a struggling real estate agent at that time and you said to them, "Hey, what if I had a way for you to do all of this and you don't have to spend any money?" I mean, he would be ecstatic doing it.
Right.
So I think we need to really we need to put things in perspective and kind of see that, hey, we're not back in like the feudal times where we have to kill each other to survive and
Sure.
bring food home.
Thankfully.
Right? Thankfully, right? Like we have the choice to sit in a very comfortable environment, to make a few phone calls, to go on the social media while we have unlimited drinks and water and food. I think we have to change the paradigm of how things are. We have a lot of opportunity. Take
Absolutely.
advantage of it.
For sure. So, Elliot, in the time we have left, let's shift to the market outlook and then also a little bit about what you're working on now, because I want to talk about 1428. But how are you seeing the Miami market right now, and where's the opportunity you think in the next 1 to 2 years?
The market is, I think it's ever more important now to have an advisor that to speak about the market, because there are so many different articles and news reports that pull people different ways. And this is why we have sort of a market where sellers, they don't want to bring their prices down, buyers, they don't want to bring their prices up, because each side have tangible information that is both true, right, so to speak. But how do you break that information down in a way that's concise, I think is important for brokers. And this is where they give actual value to their clients in order for them to make the smartest decisions, right? Like, gone are the days where you take one single statistic and and as a blanket statement, you could tell this is the entire market,
Sure.
right? There's news articles you could probably see that the world is falling and the US markets is gonna, go into another 2008.
Right.
And then you have articles that says that the market couldn't have been better, right?
Right.
And you have analytics that are everywhere. But the truth of the matter is, nowadays, hyper local segmentation in market information is more relevant than ever. Any single asset class, any single product, what product price it is for that asset, where it's located, what submarket, those are all important factors that make a big difference in the property itself. So you can't just take one article
Sure.
and say that that is the end all be all.
Is there a specific segment or area of the market that you think is performing extremely well right now?
Yes, absolutely. The market that's 10 million and up,
So ultra luxury. Yeah.
ultra luxury, is doing very well. And very unique product does well. Single families are doing better. Um, but I think we have a very I think I'm opportunistic with our market. I think Miami is positioned as the best market in all of the United States, which is one of the most safe countries in the entire world, with relatively good stability,
Mhm.
right? So we have a lot of opportunity where we are.
I would agree. Let's talk a little bit about what you're focused on today, which brings us home here to Nolan House, which specifically with new development and the residences at 1428 Brickell. So, in speaking with you today, and in the time I've known you over the years, I think you're a very smart, analytical person, with good insights. And so, what made this the right fit for you? What attracts you to 1428?
Ultimately, and I love that question. Ultimately, it really came down to the developer, Yamal, and his entire team, and also the Cervera family. One thing that I thought was really interesting about Cervera is that um, every most people that I've met in the company have been with Cervera for 10, 15, 20 years,
Myself included.
which I think it's absolutely amazing. Coming from a lot of different companies, um, and having the opportunity to really sit down and talk to Alicia. Actually, the first time we sat down to speak, it wasn't about business. It was us sitting down and getting to know each other, which I actually really enjoy that. I don't know about most other people, but I enjoy the human aspect of meeting people, the relationship aspect, which really translated to me aligning myself with White Tech, who I believe really is going to be the next high quality developer here in the city. I'm willing to invest with them in this project, which I think everybody should come and see it because it's absolutely phenomenal. You have to really look past just the building itself.
Mm.
For example, we don't have a brand. And the reason that is because without having a brand, it allows us to save a ton of money in order to reinvest into every single unit owner's finishes.
Right.
So a lot of our kitchens are 2 to 3 times the average of what any developer has paid in the market in the marketplace. Some the kitchens that we have are from straight from Italy, and they're um, usually put in mansions around the world. This is the first time it's ever been introduced in a high rise.
Wow.
And a lot of the materials that we use are really meant for longevity. So a lot of the times when people come into our sales gallery, I always ask them to look at our floors, right? Like, even though we've had over 10,000 people walk into our sales gallery, we clean our floors once every couple of months. I've even heard every 6 months. And if you walk into our model, our floors are like spanking clean.
Yeah.
So it tells you that over the next 5 to 10 years, the property that our buyers buy are going to stay looking beautiful. It's not going to have as much wear and tear as you see with other developments. And
Sure.
over time, I think this is where the whole passion and thought process comes in. And besides that, we are also a very eco-friendly development. We're the first development in the entire world that's going to have a solar backbone, which is going to save nearly 5,000 tons of carbon dioxide and also bring in almost 170 megawatts of energy, which allows us to um, decrease all of our HOA costs competitively in the marketplace. So not only are we sustainable, we're also forward thinking for all of our owners.
Tell me a little bit more about because we've given a lot of value. So now I wanna allow you to give me the elevator pitch, the sales pitch
Oh my gosh.
on the residences at 1428. So we talked about the developer, quality developer, the sustainability. Walk me through the experience when residents come in. What's the unit mix like? What's the some of the other amenities, and also what do you have left to sell in terms of inventory?
Well, we're 60% sold. We're very, very fortunate to have sold this amount in relatively in a time and a space where the market has been not the easiest. We have an incredible sales team that backs us, and you know, our development is special in a way that we are going to be using curvilinear glass. We use the philosophy that rounded corners are better for energy and also for wear and tear. So all of our units and all of our lobby areas have more curvilinear in terms of just the structure as well as our glass. We're also very, very much involved in the nature aspect. So we have beautiful landscaping throughout the property. Um, Without the branding aspect, we were able to have full control who we say is going to be part of the team. So we have the best in class engineers, the best in class architects, the best in class general contractor that's working on our building. And then on top of that, our developer is a civil engineer who's got his MBA from Harvard. So that is another layer of quality control when it comes to building any high rise. I think that's very important.
Well said. Well said. We're gonna put some information about the residences at 1428 in the show notes. We'll also definitely put some pretty renders video and sort of illustrate what you're talking about there, Elliot. And I think long term too, there's some exciting things we have in the pipeline which we can't disclose just yet.
We can't disclose this yet, but there's a lot of exciting things happening with our developer and Cervera.
Yep.
So we can't wait to, pop back on and talk about it when the time comes.
For sure. So I know you're busy, so we're gonna let you go, but this was a lot of fun. I have one last question for you before I let you go, and that is to wind up this top producer segment. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, the piece of advice that I would give myself is to concentrate on moving the needle. Yeah.
Okay.
Because quite honestly, I've wasted a lot of time in the past as well.
I think we've all been there. So hmm, excuse me. So focus on moving the needle and whatever you do. Elliot, anything else that I missed? I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff.
I think we covered everything.
Very good. So we're gonna leave it there. Thank you for inviting us into your new home, your space here. We invite our listeners to come in and get a sales presentation from you. And we'll also put your info in the show notes because as co-founder of the Lena and Elliot team, you have an amazing group of individuals around you. And I know you might be interested in hearing from some people out there that want to join that effort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram account, Elliott.Lee, and we can get started.
Awesome. And if you're interested in joining the amazing team at Cervera Real Estate, we invite you to contact careers@cervera.com. Tell them Omar sent you. And learn more about that amazing platform that's been around for more than 50 years, really shaping the skyline and work with professionals like Elliot, myself, and Alicia, and then the whole gang at Cervera. So we're going to leave it there. We invite you to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. We will be back soon. Until then, remember that here in Miami, the future is always bright. Take care, folks.
I love that. That was awesome.